The year is 1429. France is a ghost, a kingdom on its knees, its spine broken 14 years earlier at the catastrophic Battle of Agincourt, where the flower of French knighthood was wiped from the earth. The nation is now torn apart by a bitter civil war, and the English army holds almost all of the north, including Paris itself. A humiliating treaty has disinherited the rightful heir, the Dauphin Charles, a man so insecure and unproven his enemies mock him as the King of Bourges, the ruler of a phantom court with no kingdom. The key to what is left of France, the great city of Orléans, has been under a brutal siege for 7 agonizing months. Outside its walls, 5,000 English veterans, the most feared army in Europe, man a ring of forts, bastilles, that are slowly choking the life from the city. Inside, the people are starving. Their soldiers are demoralized, their commanders resigned to a defeat that seems inevitable. French morale has hit rock bottom, shattered just months earlier by the disastrous Battle of the Herrings, a loss so complete it seemed to prove God himself had abandoned their cause. The fall of Orléans means the end of France. Their only hope is a 17-year-old peasant girl who claims she speaks to God. Her name is Jeanne, a girl from a small village who cannot read or write, yet she walks into the lion's den. She claims she is guided by voices: St. Michael, the Archangel, St. Catherine, St. Margaret. These voices, she says, have given her an impossible, non-negotiable mission. She must lift the siege of Orléans, and she must lead her Dauphin to the holy city of Reims to be crowned king. Her sheer conviction is unnerving. She had traveled to the Dauphin's court at Chinon, having already made a chilling prediction. She foretold the Battle of the Herrings weeks before the news reached the court, a prophecy now historically verified. This one act of clear-sightedness unnerves the skeptical commanders enough to grant her an audience with the Dauphin. When she arrives at Chinon, she is met with more suspicion. The court is a nest of cynical politicians. To test her, the Dauphin Charles reportedly disguises himself among his courtiers. But Joan, who has never seen him, walks right up to him and announces her mission. A private conversation follows, where she apparently reveals things only God could know, reassuring the insecure Dauphin of his legitimacy. Charles is now intrigued, but his advisors insist on a formal examination. Joan is sent to Poitiers to be interrogated for 3 weeks by a panel of theologians. They grill her about her visions and her faith. Was she a witch, or was she truly sent from God? In the end, they find nothing but good, humility, virginity, devotion, honesty, and simplicity. They advise Charles that rejecting her might be rejecting God's help. He has the green light. The Dauphin equips her for war. She is given a suit of polished white armor, a harness so bright it seems to glow, and a small military staff. But her true weapon is her banner. Made of white linen, it shows Christ judging the world, flanked by angels, with the simple, powerful words, Jesus Maria. She is not a formal commander, she is a living symbol of divine aid, a spiritual leader turning a broken army into a holy crusade. April 29th. The action begins. Joan's convoy of supply boats is stalled on the Loire River, the wind blowing the wrong way. The starving city watches from the walls, their hope fading. Then, just as Joan appears on the riverbank, eyewitnesses report the wind suddenly and miraculously changes. The boats sail through. Joan of Arc enters Orléans on a white horse, her banner held high. The people pour into the streets, weeping, screaming, trying to touch her armor, her horse, anything. They see her not as a soldier, but as the fulfillment of a prophecy. This is her first victory. Hope. In the First War Council, the city's veteran commander, Jean de Dunois, the bastard of Orléans, is a pragmatic soldier. He urges caution. Joan confronts him. She has not come to wait. She has come to fight. The commanders try to sideline her. On May 4th, they launch an attack on the English fort of Saint-Lô, east of the city, without telling her. Joan is resting when, as she claims, her voices jolt her awake. French blood is being spilled. She calls for her horse and armor and gallops toward the sound of the fight. She arrives to find a disaster. The French attack is broken. The soldiers are in full retreat. The sight of the maid, her Jesus Maria banner held high, charging toward the enemy, shames them. It stops them cold. They turn. They roar and rally around her. The fort of Saint-Lô is taken. It is the first real offensive victory of the entire 7-month siege. The stunned commanders can no longer ignore her. The next target is the fortified monastery of Les Augustins. On May 6th, the French army attacks. The fighting is brutal, a grinding melee of steel and stone. The English, supported by cannon fire from the nearby Tourelle fortress, put up a fierce resistance. The French line buckles. Once again, they begin to fall back in a panic. But Joan is there. Alongside her is the grizzled captain La Hire, a man whose nickname means the Wrath, a ruthless mercenary known for pillaging, not prayer. Together, this icon of purity and this hardened warrior grab her banner and lead a charge back into the fight. Her sheer courage is contagious. The men surge forward. Joan is wounded in the foot by a metal spike but refuses to stop. By evening, Les Augustins has fallen. The English are stunned. Their veteran commander, John Talbot, a man feared by the French, watches this witch dismantle 7 months of work in 2 days. He pulls all his remaining troops on the south bank into one final mighty fortress, the Tourelle. This stone gatehouse is England's last and strongest hold on the south bank. That night, the exhausted French commanders decide to play it safe. They agree the army is too tired for another assault. Joan is told to rest. She refuses. "You have been in your council," she tells the stunned veterans, "and I have been in mine." She declares that she will lead the attack, that it will succeed, and she makes a chilling, historically documented prophecy. "Tomorrow," she says, "blood will be drawn from my body above my breast." The morning of May 7th arrives with a heavy sense of dread. The assault begins early. The sound is deafening. French cannon try to crack the stone, but the English archers rule the air. The air is thick with the thrum of English longbows. The French throw themselves at the walls, and the English beat them back with axes, pikes, and a storm of arrows. The trench below the wall fills with the casualties of the brutal, grinding affair. For hours, it is a slaughterhouse. The attack is failing. From the battlements, the English commander, Sir William Glasdale, laughs, his voice ringing across the field. He calls Joan a cowgirl, a witch, and shouts very loudly that they will burn her if they can lay hands on her. Joan stands in the ditch, her banner in hand, urging her men to place the ladders. She is a beacon in her polished armor. She is the only thing driving the attack forward. Then, it happens. A single, dark shaft. The arrow punches clean through her armor between her neck and shoulder. She falls. The prophecy is fulfilled. The English on the walls erupt in a triumphant roar. The French attack, which depended entirely on her presence, sputters and dies. Her magic is broken. As she is carried away, crying in pain, the French commanders see the attack has stalled. They sound the trumpets. Retreat. The battle stops. The French are defeated. Joan is taken to a field, her wound dressed with oil. She spends time in prayer. And then she gets back on her horse. She rides to the front lines. The entire battlefield freezes. To the French soldiers, it is a literal resurrection. Their morale explodes. To the English, the witch they thought they'd killed is back. Their confidence shatters. Joan rides to the edge of the ditch. She sees her standard-bearer, the brave Jean d'Aulon, holding the Jesus Maria banner. She seizes it. She shakes it toward the fortress, her voice crying out, "My standard! My standard!" This is the signal. The French army, believing in the miracle they are witnessing, lets out a single, deafening roar. They surge forward in one last, overwhelming wave. They swarm the ladders, unstoppable. This time, the demoralized English defenders are crushed. The main drawbridge to the gatehouse, now on fire, groans and collapses. Sir William Glasdale, the man who had insulted her, is trapped in his heavy armor. He plunges into the Loire River and drowns. The Tourelle is stormed. The battle is over. The fall of Les Tourelles breaks the English siege. On the morning of May 8th, the remaining English forces, including the great commander John Talbot, burn their own northern forts. They form up for battle, but their will is gone. They turn and march away. The siege, which had dragged on for 7 agonizing months, is over, just 9 days after Joan's arrival. The victory is a miracle. More, it is the turning point of the 100 Years' War. The myth of English invincibility, which had haunted France since Agincourt, is broken. With this new momentum, Joan leads the army on a brilliant campaign, clearing the Loire Valley. Weeks later, on June 18th, the French cavalry achieves Agincourt in reverse at the Battle of Patay. They charge and annihilate the English longbowmen before they can even plant their defensive stakes, capturing John Talbot himself. The path to Reims is clear. On July 17, 1429, in Reims Cathedral, the insecure Dauphin is crowned King Charles VII. Eyewitnesses describe the trumpets sounding so loud, it seemed the vaults of the church must be riven apart. And standing at the king's side, in the place of highest honor, is the 17-year-old girl, her battle-worn Jesus Maria banner in her hand. She proved that one person's conviction can change the destiny of a nation. If this story of unbelievable leadership inspired you, please like this video and subscribe for more.